don't know if Scott's with us this afternoon. The president of the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. It is a little after 5, and this is Mountain Time at 5. Is 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 4 Pacific, and the whole 9 yards. And want to welcome everybody to Mountain Time at 5. We're going to have Ron Brown. Gene's already there, holding the phone for the man.
Ron's phone is still on mute.
Okay. Yeah, we're going
to. Can you have him raised? I think he's under iPhone instead of Ron.
Okay.
His hand. It's under the more section.
He's trying to unmute it now.
I hear him back there in the background.
He probably is going to have to raise his hand in the more section. There's a raise hand button. It's kind of if he's using an iPhone, it's in the bottom right corner.
Ron.
Okay, I'm trying.
Hey, no,
you're on.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, buddy. Hi there.
Can always use Gene's phone.
Technically challenged, I tell you.
You're good. Thanks a lot.
Puts everybody on the lockdown at 5. So.
Oh, is that how we do it? Okay. All right, I'll shut up and let you guys make introductions.
Yeah, we'll do all that now. You're good. You talk as much as I want. People tired of hearing of us anyway, especially me. I did want to remind people of a couple of things. Tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. Now, the National Federation of the Blind has a matching grant from the Give Me Foundation. So if you do want to throw a few bucks in the virtual hat, you just go to nfb.org under donate, and you can make a contribution through tomorrow. You can do it now. You can do it through tomorrow, and you'll get the National Federation of the Blind. Like your $1 will bring us $2. So consider throwing a few bucks in the virtual hat, because the National Federation of the Blind has been huge during COVID-19. You know, we really connect blind people, we protect blind people, and we have all these Zoom classes, and there's so many things going on. And Ron, as a member of the national board, not only will share his story, but may want to touch on a couple of folks. I want to remind folks that if you want to post to the blog, we really appreciate posts. If you go to nfbco.org, we'd love to have your Blogspot post. You can look at the articles that have already been printed, published, posted everywhere on the Blind Colorado, and go ahead and do a post. I think those are the announcement things that I have.
So they all have to send the post to you. They can't just post.
They can go there. So what else we have? There was one other item, Jessica, that I wanted to make sure. Oh, I know. If you guys didn't hear President Riccobono's presidential release last Friday night at 6, I strongly, strongly, strongly urge you to go listen to it. It was a masterful performance. You know, the president really did lay out both on the sort of the emotional side of COVID-19 and the information side of the things that we're doing, and talked a little about convention. I urge you. Pam Allen hosted it. It was a tremendous NFB event. It's up there, so go to nfb.org on the presidential release. That's all I have, Jess.
All right, awesome. So we're going to have an exciting week this week. We have Ron Brown, who's going to be speaking with us today. And then tomorrow we're going to have a mindfulness session. On Wednesday, we're going to do a walking workout followed by an advanced upper body workout. On Thursday, we're going to have a panel to answer some of those navigating and advocating during COVID-19 questions. And then on Friday, we're going to have a Philosophy Friday all about the audible pedestrian signals. So it's going to be a great week. Keep joining us each night at 5. We are also putting these on the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado YouTube page. So if you just go to YouTube and search for National Federation of the Blind of Colorado, all of our calls are archived there. And Maureen, do you have anything else before we get going?
Yeah, just a reminder, our COVID-19 hotline is still up. That number is 303-778-1130, extension 219. You also can send an email to assistance@nfbco.org. That's assistance@nfbco.org. If you are not a member yet of the National Federation of the Blind, we invite you to become a member, and you can call that number or send an email, and we will be happy to set you up with your state's affiliate and a local chapter. So I just want to say that I'm really excited about tonight's call, hearing from Ron Brown. In 2017, I got the honor of being a national scholarship winner, And I'd already been around the NFB for, a little while. And you think, oh, what am I going to learn new as a scholarship winner? And I have to say that the mentorship that they give us as scholarship winners is so profound and it's so impactful. And I was really, really impacted by spending time with Ron and Jean Brown. I was just so inspired by their kindness and their warmth and their faith. I even get a little emotional about it. Oh my gosh. But they are just the most beautiful people I have ever met. And the first day you get to convention, the scholarship winners have this meeting with the scholarship committee, and we're all in a meeting. And that was the time I just had brain surgery, and I was actually in a wheelchair at that time. So my mom came to help out, and she was waiting outside of the room, and we get done, and she said, I just met the most amazing woman. I mean, she was just so wonderful, and just that was going on and on and on. I was like, what's her name? And she said, Jean Brown. And I'm like, that's Ron's wife. Like, and it just got like, so I just wasn't impacted, but my mom was impacted. And I just wanted you both to know that. So thank you for joining. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you tonight, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, here we go. So again, I just want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to speak to you all tonight. I I always find it an honor and a privilege to talk to fellow Federationists. And sometimes I tell Gene, I say, I told this story so much. I think it's old hat. Everybody has heard it, and sometimes you may find a person, maybe one person, that it may change their life or change. Or give somebody some hope and some encouragement that they can live the life they want. I know that I didn't think that when I first lost my vision, and I lost my vision at 17 years old as a senior in high school. I look back on those years and I think about it now, and there's so many influential people in my life. I mean, Kevin on the phone here, and Dr. Maurer, and all of those leaders, Scott, LeVar, and those leaders who impacted me, whether they knew it or not. Just being around them and learning from them and growing, and then bringing my own truth to the table, if you will. And so my truth is that. So when I was 17 years old, I was coming home from a basketball game in Gary, Indiana, and I was playing around with some of the guys, and we were laughing and talking. And as we were walking home, we cut across a field. When we cut across this field, we were all hooping and hollering, and then all of a sudden, I looked back over my shoulder at this one guy named Danny, and I said, Danny, what did you say? And the minute I said that, I heard this boom. And I saw the fire coming at me out of like a camera flash out of the corner of my eye. And I knew I couldn't duck. And when it hit, it spread across my face and it hit the other guys all on the shoulder. What I came to find out, it was a shotgun blast, and pellets was hitting us everywhere. And the majority of the blast I caught. It hit me in the face, and it felt like 1,000 bees that stung me in the face at one time. And I grabbed my face and I said, oh, I've been shot. And so I started running. Wasn't too far from my house. We were almost home. If I had walked around, I probably would be cited today, but, God had a different plan for me. And so I cut across the field, taking a shortcut. Come to find out, the guy said that he didn't realize he had shot anybody. Some kids had broke out his window earlier, and that he was just shooting out of his house window to scare them away. He thought they were coming back when he heard us coming across the path. And so from that day to this day, I've been totally blind. And so the shotgun blast took my sight, and I'm often fond of saying that it may have taken my physical sight, but God and the Federation definitely gave me insight to who I was going to be, and insight to the fact that you know, I had a different purpose in life than what I thought. What I thought my purpose was to go and train to be a apprentice in my cousin's business as a refrigeration and small engine repair guy. And so after I graduated from high school, that's what he was going to let me do. Well, I thought about it after I lost my sight because it was that fall in my senior year. So I was sighted when I started my senior year, and I was blind by January of my senior year. And I thought my life is over as I know it. I thought I don't know anything about blindness, anything about blind people. All I knew was that there was a Mr. Magoo factor on TV who was a bungling blind idiot, and I definitely didn't want to be him. And then I also knew that blind people shook cups on the corner and beg for change. And I thought, this is what I'm relegated to. So I started to go back to school my senior year because I wanted to graduate. And make a long story short, I started meeting people in the organization. Now, I was blinded at 17, but I found the Federation at 18. How fortunate for me. Some people don't find a Federation until later in life or never find us. But what an opportunity I had, because at the time I lost my vision, Dr. Maurer and Mrs. Maurer were living in Indiana, and he was the state president. And I got an opportunity to meet him. I was on the campus of Ball State University, recently blinded, didn't know, about cane travel, was very ashamed of myself and carrying a cane. And then they came along and started showing us that we could, we are blind students and that we can live the life we want, basically. That wasn't our mantra back then, but it holds true even back then. I didn't know it yet. He came to the campus, he started talking to us about selling candy and being part of a student division. We took the candy as blind students, ate the candy, and I tell him this story all the time that I'm still paying back that debt to the Federation and my efforts and the work and the time that I spend doing what I'm doing now. So anyway, he taught me that it was respectable to be blind, and that just because I had lost my sight didn't mean that I lost my ability to be all I could be, to live the life I want to live. And blindness did not have to be the factor that held me back. And so, of course, I didn't learn that at that age. I got into the organization and I started hearing about the Federation more, and me and my buddies got in because, quite frankly, we were 18, 19 years old. We wanted to meet girls, and so that's what we did. And we played around in the organization. I literally, when I think back on it, say I grew up in the organization because I had an opportunity to meet all these people and have fun. And I heard that the Federation had nice parties and all of that. So it was a place for me. I started to get serious about the organization when one year I went to a national convention and Dr. Jernigan was up on the podium. He was talking. I said, let me listen and really hear what he's saying. And so that convention changed my life because I started to realize, well, the message that they're sending out is what I want. This is how I live my life. I want to be independent. I don't want people treating me like a second-class citizen. So I've been there, done that, and I already knew what that was all about by me being an African-American male. A lot of things that I grew up under were not necessarily the segregation. Those years were over, but it was still a lot of discrimination going on with African-American people. And so I knew what that was all about, but I didn't think it would pertain to me as a blind person because we all, saw black, basically, is what I thought. And so there couldn't be any discrimination in the organization. Well, you find out that just because you are all blind doesn't mean that you're not individuals, and everybody brings something different to the table. And so I realized that, and what I was taught though in my early years as a federation is that it didn't matter, you know, if I was Black, brown, Hispanic, whatever, I was still blind, and we all had that commonality. And so Dr. Mara told me being able to be that, being that it was respectable to be blind, and being that, you know, I could be whoever I wanted to be. And so I started to grow in the organization. I became a chapter president, and then I became a state board member in Indiana. And ultimately in 1996, I became president to this day. So I've been president here in Indiana for 24 years. I also grew into leadership when Dr. Maurer in 2000 asked me to serve on the National Board of Directors. And that was an honor to do that. And I became the second vice president in 2008 and been that ever since. And I'm telling all these timelines of things and the progression in my life because of the fact that, one, it didn't matter if I was an African American or otherwise. I was the first African American to ever be elected to the executive team. And that was a great honor. But what it also showed me is that we have diversity in our organization. Just because you're Black, just because you're, you know, Hispanic or white or whatever. It's not about Blackness. It's not about whiteness. It's all about blindness. You focus on that, we'll get along just fine. And that's the way our organization is set up. It's set up that way from the top down. If you notice that our board of directors has diversity in it, women, African-American women, Hispanic, white, Black, everybody, our organization, top leaders reflect the body of our organization. That is a powerful statement to make because it lets people know that you can participate and you can grow in this organization and you can be all you can be with diversity and with inclusion and with the fact that we all are a family. And when one challenges one of our family members, they challenge all of us. And that's what I truly, truly believe. I also believe that being a leader doesn't mean that, you know, leadership doesn't mean that you're being in charge, doesn't mean that you're being in charge. Being a leader means that you are taking care of those who you are charged with. And so that's what I believe. And when you feel that way, you serve the organization. And I do it with great pride because I'm serving those who are like me and of like mind. And we continue to do the work of our organization to grow it in all of our programs and all of our expectations. We have high expectations for each other. We have high expectations for our kids. We have high expectation for all of our family members, the seniors. You know, I just got asked today from a reporter up here says, she wrote me an email, says, Dear Ron, you know, I know COVID-19 has affected you guys, and I was thinking about the blind and how you guys use touch as a mechanism for getting around and holding on to people's arms. There might be a story in this. Can you write me back? And I'm thinking, you want me to probably sensationalize blindness for you. Well, I'm going to write you back, but you're not going to get what you probably want back as an answer. So I wrote her back and I told her, you know, COVID-19 has affected all of us just like it affects the greater society. We're frustrated that we have to stay in, cannot go to work, we cannot participate in society that we like we normally do. I said, but it has also affected us in some ways when we navigate. Some people may want to take a person's arm and use sighted guide and get to where they're going that way. I said, but blind people have been coming up with alternative ways of getting things done all of our lives. So it doesn't really affect us like you think. I said, we use problem solving ability and we use our independence every day, whether it's a COVID virus or not. And that is that, so for example, you may take a person's arm in a store, or you may take a person's arm getting through a restaurant, or on and on and so forth. I said, but there's alternative ways of getting that done. Instead of taking someone's arm who may be feeling uncomfortable with you holding onto them, you can ask them for auditory clues. You can say, you know, can you just give me verbal clues to the left or right or here, and I'll, you know, navigate that way. And we do those kinds of things. I said, and also when you get into a store and you got lines and things drawn on the store, and you may not be able to get a tactile reading of those things. I said, you can stop and you can ask the person, am I a safe space from you? And they'll be happy to tell you. You know, it's about talking, it's about communicating, and it's about figuring out how we do what we do in an alternative manner. We do that every day, whether it's COVID-19 virus or not. And so, you know, that's how we live our lives, problem solving and figuring things out. So I gave her another idea of thinking about it and saying, you know, it's as simple as if you go to the store and buy some shampoo and some conditioner. I said, you know, we may throw a rubber band around a shampoo and may leave the conditioner open, and there you have it. A simple fix to a problem, and it's an effective fix. I said, COVID has not necessarily affected us in the ways you may think. I said, but we are still going to live the life we want, and we're not going to let blindness hold us back. Sincerely, Ron Brown. That kind of answer to me was appropriate to her, because I wasn't going to give her this sensationalized story of, oh, how the blind are suffering because we can't touch things in the world and we can't hold on to things, you know. You know, the National Federation of the Blind taught me to think like that, taught me to understand my blindness in an intrinsic way, to figure out that it's not about blindness. It's not about blindness. Blindness doesn't have to define us. It's about how we live the life we live and how we get things done in an alternative manner. The same things that they do, we do in an alternative manner. And sometimes our ways are more effective or just as effective as the way the sighted public does things. Maureen, I'm not sure how long you want me to go, but I could take questions about things you like. Not sure how much time I have.
So I'm just going to pop in and say a couple things, you guys, about Ron. He didn't even touch on the fact that he's in the Beatball Hall of Fame. He didn't touch on the fact that he and his wife, they've owned their own businesses of different types. He's been in the vending industry. He's had a business where he's taught people to travel. And actually, I don't know, Ron, I don't know if you're even still doing that business, but Ron, for a long time, was top demand. If somebody wanted to learn to travel from a totally blind guy and get that real positive spin, they would often reach out to Ron. So he's only touched on a few of the touchstones. Sure.
Yeah, I've been a Randolph Shepherd vendor for 37 years. I've owned my own business. I have the opportunity of owning another business. I came back from the master's program that Dr. Ruby Rouse started in Ruston, Louisiana in 1997. I graduated in 99, and I came home with a master's degree, and I decided, well, I already have one business. I don't want to go work for another rehab center, so I'll start another. So I started my cane travel business, and it's called Cane Enable. And I've been teaching now for 20 years, Kevin. And so I've been doing the Randolph Shepherd for 37, the cane travel business for 20 years, president here in Indiana for 24 years. Gene and I have truly, truly been blessed, not because we're blind, but in spite of it.
And you've been married how long? How many years?
33 years.
33 on that one. Woo!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
questions. Do we want to, Jess, Kev?
Yeah, sure.
Why don't we see if we have questions, Kevin Kovacs?
All right, if you want to raise your hand, if you're dialing in, it's *9. If you're on the app, it's under the More section in the bottom right, and it's Alt-Y on the JAWS commands.
So if we got any questions for Ron Brown,
Phone number 6677.
you are unmuted, 6677. Oh, I know who that is.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Ron. This is Art Yoakum, buddy.
Hi.
Hey,
glad-
Art.
I'm glad you're here, and I just wanted to say that, you know, when we talk about living the life we want, Ron, I want to thank you. I know saying thank you is, it's not really enough for what you were able to do for me, because you were able to help me get to the Colorado Center for the Blind. And going to the Colorado Center for the Blind, helped me to be able to be totally independent, to live the life that I want, to find a girlfriend, to fall in love, to get married. That's what my next door neighbor told me to do all that. So I did it. But thanks to you and the hard work that you did and everything, that I was able to go to the Colorado Center for the Blind and get the skills that I need. And I don't know, Ron, like you always say, I'm always in your chapter, buddy. And
That's right.
I missed you a lot, man. I wish I could have seen you at convention this year, but what can we do, right?
Well, you'll see me virtually at the convention. And, you know, I just want to say to Art, he was one of my favorite sons here in Indiana, and he wanted to go to the Colorado Center to become more independent. And Art, you know, as well as everybody on this call, we generally support each other. We have to pay it forward. And so I got help. And so, you know, I'm doing the work of the organization by paying it forward and helping you, and you'll help someone else. And it goes on and on. We pass the positive.
Jana Jackson.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Ron, I just wanted to, I've not met you, but I just wanted to tell you that you and your wife, both your stories have just blessed me so much. I've read both of your articles in the Braille Monitor, and I was just going through my email a while ago at the end of a busy day and saw that you were going to be on here, and I was like, I've got to tune in. So thank you for just being who you are, and God bless you both. I love you already, and I haven't even met you yet.
Thank you, Jana. I appreciate it.
Wait till you meet him. He can change your mind on that.
Well, I have to put a plug in. I tell you guys all about the work and the organization that I do, but Kevin is right. You know, with all that work, and Jessica knows this, comes some play, and you have to get some exercise, and you have to get some play into your life, because it can't be all work. All work and no play makes Ron a dull boy. So I played a lot, and I played it when I met the organization like Beat Baseball.
Yeah.
And so in 1990, I won our first World Series, and since 2016, we've won 4 in a row up into this point. And so we have 5 titles, 5 World Series rings now that are loaded up in here in this jewelry box, and I really had a lot of fun. My claim to fame with beat ball was that I got inducted into the Blind Baseball Hall of Fame in 2011, and that's when I stopped playing, but I started coaching. And so we've been having fun with the young guys and trying to mentor them and give them a positive outlook on life. We do this thing called what are you gonna do when the lights go out? And that's all about, you know, how you're gonna live your life as a blind youth. And you have athletic prowessness right now, but you gotta think about what you're gonna do when the lights go out. Basically, when you stop playing ball and you start living and trying to make a career and a living. And so, you know, we get an opportunity to mentor those young guys, and that's really, really rewarding to me.
We have other people, I think, with questions. I want to remind folks that we do post these up on our National Federation of the Blind of Colorado YouTube channel. So if you're inspired by Ron's story, or even if you aren't, you should send people up. You should send people up to look at all these and hear all these great Mountain Time at 5s that we've had over the past 7+ weeks. Who else do we
Awesome.
have?
So I know, Kev, can you see Shara? She just texted me and she said she's using JAWS and wants to raise her hand, but she's on her computer.
Okay. I got phone number 9866.
Good evening, everyone. This is LaShawna Fant. And Ron, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story. You and Jean have been such great inspirations to me. I lost my sight around during my senior year of high school, and I met you at the National Convention, you and Jean, and you all have just been fierce inspirations to me and have truly encouraged me to live the life I want. So thank you.
Thank you, LaShawna. Thank you.
And we're glad to have you back from our call last Thursday. Thanks for being here, LaShawna.
LaShawna is a great teacher, I believe, in Mississippi, and she has done wonderful things. I remember when she won a scholarship, and I got an opportunity to mentor her. Let me talk about the scholarship program just a little bit and how important and impactful that program is. Not only do we give money away and we give the gifts and all that, but what we give to them is so much more important, and that's the gift of our organization and the gift of getting the opportunity to meet all of us and to get mentored by some of the brightest minds in the blindness field. That is so important to give the scholarships mentees an opportunity to talk about the things that's on their mind, not only to talk about school, but to talk about how you can live your life as a blind person. Some of these students are just losing their sight. Some may be long time blind people, but the mentoring opportunity is so very important. It changes a lot of lives. I was so grateful to meet LaShawna, and most importantly, I was grateful to meet Maureen and to be able to mentor to them. And her story was so powerful to me. She not only, she says I helped to change her life, she changed mine just through her story and her perseverance. Oh my God, it's just amazing.
Shara.
Hey.
Hey.
I actually just wanted to tell Ron that I think he's wonderful and I love his story and it's very encouraging. That's all I was going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like, good thing to say.
It is. I'm gonna jump ahead of whoever was gonna ask a question next and just say that I remember that having Ron and Jean as national reps in Tennessee in one of my very first state conventions that I got the opportunity to attend, and you know, just to echo what everybody else has said, just what powerful mentors that they are, and that they just lead by such a strong example. And so you know, I am so happy to get to be on this call too, and I'll let somebody else ask a question now.
I want
Thank you,
to hear
Jessica.
a young Dr. Maurer story at some point, Ron.
You want to what?
I want to hear a young Dr. Maurer story at some point.
Okay, I'll tell you.
Later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get together. We'll get together and talk about it.
Phone number 5165.
Hi, Ron. This is Barbara Manuel, Alabama affiliate president. I wanted to take this time to say thank you for your leadership to our great organization and for you constantly mentoring me. I'm new in this position and I can always call on you, and you're always there for me to give me answers and encouragement. So thank you so very much, and give Jean a huge hug for me.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, thank you,
Another one
Barbara.
of our awesome blind vendors.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I remember Ron used to be my favorite state president, and then Barbara decided to run.
Well, hey, I remember when Indiana used to be the butt of Kevin's jokes when he used to always talk about how everybody in Indiana had a spiral. And that's a vending machine joke for those of you who don't understand that we would divide locations up so much that Kevin said we give everybody a spiral and call it a location.
Pam used to like it. Who else?
Oh yeah, Pam used to bristle at that one.
Rashika.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rashika. It's so nice to see you. For those who don't know me, I am a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, and I have been a proud member of the NFB since this year, which is super exciting. And first, I just wanted to say, Ron, your story truly did inspire me a lot. I really, really appreciated hearing from you, and my favorite line that you said was, everything may have taken my physical sight, but God and the Federation gave me insight. I just thought that was super powerful.
Yeah.
I just had a quick question. I am a sighted person who really does want to volunteer and give back. Do you have any like misconceptions that you think sighted people make about you, or ways that people can approach you in a more understanding manner?
Well, that's a good question. You know, there's misconceptions about blindness every day that people assume a lot that we can or cannot do, Rashika. But, you know, one of the things that I generally say is that if you talk to a person just like you would anybody else, you know, they'll tell you their needs, they'll tell you what they can or cannot do. I mean, blindness is not about us as a person. And that means that if you're a super nice person prior to losing your sight, you'll be a super nice person after losing your sight. If you're a butthole before you lose your sight, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna be a butthole after you lose your sight. It doesn't define our personalities. And so you just treat people as you would like to be treated. I mean, the golden rule comes into play all the time here, especially when it comes to blindness. When it comes to sighted people wanting to be more aware of blindness and blind people, I would say that there is no dumb question. And if you want to talk to a blind person, there's nothing wrong with doing it. I know you've become to understand that since you've been in the Federation, but even your friends and stuff, you know, it's funny that I can tell a story about when Gene and I, we both totally blind and our kids are sighted. Okay, so when our youngest daughter was dating this guy, he was afraid to come in our house, and she said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, your parents are blind, and I don't know how to act around them." And she looked at him and she told him, "Well, you act the way you act around your parents. I mean, you know, you say the things you say around your parents. They're not, blindness is not catching. They're not gonna, you know, rub off on you. They're not gonna, I mean, you probably, if I hadn't told you they were blind, you probably wouldn't know it. And even if you did know it, there's nothing different than them than us." And so he finally took a chance and he came in, and he and I were good buddies, and we'd sit down and drink a beer and talk ball games and watch, you know, television together. I mean, I think that we as the blind persons have to be the educators and the icebreakers to the sighted public. I generally believe that simply because we are the ones that's blind. They are the ones that don't understand it. And so it's up to us to be the educators. And you can educate in the right way by making them fear blindness and telling all kind of sob stories. I can't do this and I can't. Or you can make them respect you as a blind person and don't even look at blindness as being as part of the equation.
I have a question.
All right. Scott.
Hey, Ron, thank you so much for doing this tonight. And
absolutely,
we do love your story. And I'd be, as a leader in the NFB, you've been around a long time now. You got files on the old belt. What do you think have been some of the biggest changes in the NFB during your time? And what do you think the big changes that we need to make going forward, especially after we get out of this pandemic? And what are we going to need to do? And so if you have any thoughts on that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, Scott, you know, I came through the organization under Jeronigan's tutelage for a while, his last days. I came into the organization, you guys, in 1975. So I'm an old shoe. in the
I
organization.
was in second grade,
basically.
just to let you know, Ron.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. So I came in the organization back then, and then the first thing back then, the first thing that Jernigan and all of those guys were trying to get us was that our message out that it was respectable to be blind and that we were trying to be considered first-class citizens. I think that was a major deal back then, and we were fighting airline issues to have the right to live in the world, basically. And so that's the message that we were trying to get across, and I think that we got it across. When Maurer became, well, we're still working on it too, because there are always assumptions about what we can and cannot do. Maurer came into it, and he wanted to build our organization to a level of respect by building our national headquarters up, by building the Jernigan Institute up, by saying to the general public that, look, if you guys don't understand blindness and you guys get your information from somewhere else, we are going to be the ones to give you that information. We will be the voice of the nation's blind. And so therefore we started to put that message out and to letting people know that, blind people are educated, blind people have the capacity to live the life they want without having to kowtow down and take the menial jobs like some people were offering blind people. They were looking at those jobs of broom makers and things of that nature, that massage, and I'm not saying that those are bad professions, but those were, quote, the blind jobs that blind people were taking. And so we got an opportunity to start getting educated and start going into different fields of endeavor and to show and started showing capacity of the blind under Maurer's tutelage. And now President Riccobono's tutelage, it's where we are today, that we live our mantra, living the life we want. Blindness is not what holds us back, and that kind of thing. And though that's the message that we want to portray, to let everybody know, just because you're blind doesn't mean you don't have capacity to do the things you want to do, to be a doctor, to be a lawyer, to be all kinds of careers, and that it's just not, we're not pigeonholed into one set of careers. That we are now moving toward, I think, education, and we're now, and our future is going to be about education and about accessibility and building the future and building those capacities that we know work for us. I think that the bottom line is that the younger generations now are coming up now. Shoot, Scott, when I was in school, I mean, I didn't have a computer. I lost my sight in the 70s, and I went straight into college with very little braille and a tape recorder. And that's what I had to do in order to manage how to get through college. These kids now have note takers. They don't need readers. Primarily, I had a reader for every class. I used to get up in class and make an announcement. How would you like to read this material and get paid for it? And then I'd have 100 hands raised up, because everybody wanted to read the material then, especially if they got paid for it. But the bottom line is, I mean, now the kids can do the kinds of things they do even without a reader. We were tied to Disability Awareness Office, and the kids primarily don't even use that office unless, they just have to take a proctor test in there or whatever. But for the most part, the kids are setting their own destinies. And this is a great thing, because that's where blindness should be. It should be on education, it should be on accessibility, and it should be on chartering our own futures.
Woo-hoo.
Marianne.
Hi, Ron. It's Marianne out in Colorado. You and Jeannie and I have been friends for forever, it seems like.
Yes.
And you can't be that old, because otherwise that's going to mean I'm getting old too. So I refuse to own that. I know Miss Jean is not owning being old. not with her awesome business and everything she's got. But I'm asking this question because I know that there are some folks on here who are newly blinded. There's a lady that I'm mentoring who is newly blinded. What did you find as, you know, major challenges, obviously beyond college and such, as a newly minted blind person, 17 years old and such? What did you really need to learn and know to feel like you were functional in the world? And what were your techniques for kind of for getting that job done? How did you get to living the life you want as a blind person? And back then there really wasn't a whole lot in the way of centers and things like the things we have now. So what did you do? What were your coping strategies that you can give to somebody who's a newly minted blind person now, whether they're a youth or adult?
Yes, Marianne, thank you for that question. And I really miss you. I haven't seen you in a long time, and I'm glad to hear your voice. But that's a good question. One of the things when I first lost my sight, Marianne, here's what I had. I had a strong family foundation. And that foundation consisted of a strong matriarch in my mom. And so I got shot and I came home and I was laying on the couch and I was feeling sorry for myself. I was playing ball for the high school and I was doing all kinds of stuff. I'd go to my window and I'd stand there and stare and listen to the guys playing basketball on the court, and I knew I couldn't see them, but I could hear them. I could hear them bouncing the ball, and I was feeling so bad, you know, and I'd go in there and sit down. And so one of the things that my mom did, she called my best friend and she said, hey, come get Ron out of the house. He's having one of his days today. She knew me better than anybody, but she was my mom and she had mother's intuition. And so it came time about the second half of the year when I was to go back to school. Now, mind you, I didn't go back to the same high school I went to. I went to a totally different high school where they had a resource room in there, and where they had you can learn Braille, and then you can learn touch typing, and you can take your regular classes. So my mom told me I was going back to school, and I had this conversation with her, and I'll never forget. I said, Mom, I cannot go back to school. She said, why not? And I said, because I'm blind. I don't know how to get around. I might fall in a hole. And she said to me, she said, okay. So she called my best friend, and she said, Maurice, she said, do you still have that little black cane? And this cane was the kind of cane that you would wear when you're dressed up with a tuxedo on. And he said, yes, I still have that cane. She said, bring that cane to me. And he brought it down to my mom, and then she took the cane and she handed it to me. She said, here, and use this. And if you get lost, just ask someone. Now, if you think about it, when you fast forward to where I am today, and I'm teaching structured discovery learning, and that is that if you get lost, you ask, you problem solve, you figure it out. You see, Mom had that mother's wit way back then that didn't have a name to it like structured discovery learning, but she knew that what she was giving me was the confidence to get up, get back out in the world, and participate in the world with that little black cane. And if I got lost at this new school, just ask someone. And that's what I do. And I tell her, Mom, you know, you were my first orientation mobility instructor. and she just laughs. And I said, because that's what I teach. I had to get a master's degree to do it, though.
So I wanted to ask a question real quick, if it's okay, because I know we got to hear Jean's story this summer, and she talked about how when you guys first started dating, that her parents, particularly her dad, wasn't too thrilled about that. So how was that for you as a blind person from your perspective, and how did you work through that?
Well, now see, the Jean story is a whole nother story, because when I met Jean, I was teaching at the rehab center. in Gary, Indiana, and I was teaching daily living skills, and I was teaching in the workshop of creative symptom coping and all kind of work adjustment. I was teaching in the work adjustment program. So anyway, Jean came in one day, and she was coming there to start teaching crafts, and she had her little daughter Latrice with her sitting on her lap. And I came up the steps and I was pushing up my sleeves, getting ready to do something. And then all of a sudden her daughter looked up and said, "Mom, there goes Stevie Wonder." And then she jumped off her mom's lap and ran over there to me. And Jean said, "Come back here, Latrice." And then she came over there, "You're Stevie Wonder." And I said, "No, but I wish I had his money," you know, and talked and joked around like that. And so that's how I met little Latrice, and that's how I met Jean. Now, an O&M instructor was taking Jean around the facility. And so he said, I want to introduce you to a really good friend of mine. And so he introduced me to Jean. And we talked that day, and so time went on. So then I asked Jean, you know, I think, can I come by to visit her? Yeah, because, you know, he told me, "Ron, she's a really nice girl," and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. I said, well, I'll come by to visit you. So when I got in the car, now me being, you know, thinking I'm dashing, debonair kind of young player, you know, I'm thinking, well, when I get over this lady's house, I told my brother, he was taking me over there. I said, "Now look, Moochie, if we get over this girl's house and she don't look that hot, then you say, 'Man, it look like it's about to rain, and then we better get out of here.' And then I said, but now if she's fine, you say, 'Woo, the sun is shining bright today.' And then and it's a beautiful day." And I said, "You got the plan?" He said, "Yeah, I got the plan." I said, "Okay." So we pull up over her house, and I knock on the door, and he's standing there waiting on her to open the door. She opened the door and stepped out, and he stood there and he looked, and he said, "Woo, the sun is shining bright today." And then so G says, yeah, it is a nice day." And then he says, "No, I mean, it's really shining bright today." And then she said, "Yeah, it's a great day." He said, "Oh, no, it's a beautiful day." And he kept going on and on about how beautiful this day was. And she thought this fool was crazy, okay? So then I told her that story about 6 years after we got married, and she called me a dog. but the bottom line is, the sun is still shining bright today, and we've been married 33 years, and it's still shining bright. There you go.
There you go.
So that's how I met Jeannie.
Richard Payne.
Hey.
Well, Ron, I've heard your story many times in many different ways.
Yes, sir.
And it is our pleasure to be serving in the National Federation of the Blind with you. I'm a state president of Ohio, for those who don't know.
Yes, sir.
And
Thank you,
I
Richard.
also enjoyed your friendship and Jean's friendship over the years. So it's my pleasure to be on the call, hear your story again. I don't think I could hear it too many times, and I mean that from the heart.
Thank you, sir.
I do have a question. I
Yes.
do have a question, and the young lady a minute ago kind of, so I had like part 1 and 2, so I'm glad part 1 is already answered. So number 2, what is your greatest fear for the future blind people coming up as a leader of our organization?
Wow. You know, Richard, that's a really, really good question. And I'm not really sure I've ever been asked what's my greatest fear of our organization. I think that my greatest fear would be that those who don't know us won't get to know us. And I really feel that had they gotten to know us, if they do not, had they gotten to know us, they are missing out on one of the best, well-rounded organizations that that has been offered to America and to our world. I believe that coming together with all of our family members as a group of individuals collectively focused, I believe that that is the biggest fear that I have, that somebody somewhere is struggling with blindness and they won't get to know us. And I think that that's going to be a sad commentary for that person. I want everybody to know us, whether it be knowing us in our education realm, whether it be knowing us in our employment realm, whether it be knowing us to just give somebody support, saying it's okay. Just because you're blind doesn't mean that your life is over. I just want people to be able to raise the shades and know that there is life after blindness. And
I
my
appreciate
biggest fear is that they won't get to know that.
I think we've got about 4 more questions, if that's all right with you, if that works for your time.
Sure.
All right.
All right, Eileen.
Hello, Mr. Brown and Jean. I just wanted to come on, and because I had to leave the state convention in Boston early, I didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Oh, yeah.
And your story was awesome, and I'm glad Jessica pursued the part about how you met Jean, because that's the best part. She is so awesome, and Jean, really, I wanted to come on and tell you that I didn't forget you and Tupperware. So please reach out to me or anybody, Kevin or Jessica, and I want to get those bowls that you've had for 45 years and ashtrays and all the things we were talking about.
Absolutely.
And I'm also doing virtual Zoom Tupperware demonstrations now. So I just wanted to remind you of that and say how lovely it was to meet you, and I can't wait to talk again.
Thank you, Eileen. We got to get those ice trays. I love those ice trays with the lids on them. I never have to worry about wasting water or anything else again. I love those.
Phone number 4172.
Yes, I just have a question. This is Bianca. Did you ever play any sports after you lost your vision, or did you decide you didn't want to play any sports after you lost your vision?
Yeah, I played the sport that I was talking about, where I got the 5 different titles in the rings. That was called blind baseball, beat ball for the blind. And so all of those sports, those baseball titles I won after I lost my sight. I was blinded in '73. I found the game of baseball, blind baseball, in '83, and I played for 30 years because I loved it so much. I love organized sports. I knew I couldn't play basketball anymore, and I played goal ball for a while and won a title. And then I played baseball and just stuck with it because I just loved it. And I'm still involved in the game. I still coach our team here in Indiana. We're the reigning champs until somebody knock us off the throne. So hopefully we'll get a World Series in this year in August, but I'm not sure.
There's a book that just went on to BARD. I haven't read it yet. A history of baseball. I'm going to look and see if you're in there.
Hi, this is Pat from Ohio.
Hey, Pat.
I just want to say I really enjoyed your talk today, and you're very inspiring. And anyway, as far as mentoring and advocating, I feel like I'm doing that every single day of my life. But the hardest thing I have getting across to people is a cane means independence, and they're afraid to go out in public with their cane. What do you suggest?
Well, I got a whole nother story on about not carrying your cane, but I won't go into that tonight. But what I would say is that you're right. The cane is a tool, and you have to talk to people as using it as a tool. It is an independence tool. It's a tool to get us from point A to point B safely and competently. I will tell this quick story about my family members not wanting me to use my cane. So my sister was taking me to the store one day. And so she told me, she says, I grabbed my cane and she said, oh, leave that thing alone. I'll be your eyes, And I looked at her and I was like, okay, so I left my cane at home. This was many, many years ago, of course. So I left my cane there and we went to the store and we went shopping. And so we get in the store and she says to me, so what do you want? And I said, well, no, I was just wanting to look around and stuff. And there's certain things I want, but I just want to look at stuff, pick up, put down, that kind of thing. And so she said, just tell me what you want and I'll go get it. And so I told her one thing and she went off shopping and then she said, what else? And then she went and got something else. And so while she was gone that next time, so I'm standing there feeling around and I bump into this thing that was standing in the store. And I reached up and grabbed it and it was a mannequin. So I said to the mannequin, I said, you know what? I'm no better than you. You're just standing here doing nothing, and that's what I'm doing. I'm standing here doing nothing. I said, so I feel like you, buddy. I'm a mannequin. I didn't come shopping. She's shopping. I'm standing. So the very next time she tried to take me to the store, she said, leave your cane at home. I'll be your eyes. I said, no. I said, Stephanie, do you wear glasses? She said, of course I wear glasses. I said, why do you wear glasses? She said, so I can see where I'm going. I said, that's why I use my cane, so I can see where I'm going. You take me to the store and you shop, I stand. I said, this time when you go and look at stuff, I'm going the other way and look at other things for myself with my cane. And I've never not taken my cane again.
Great, nice.
So to those who those young lady who you're mentoring and saying they don't want to take their cane because they're ashamed of it, the cane is just a tool, just like glasses. If they need their glasses to see, we need our canes to see.
There you go.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks Ron so much for being here with us tonight. This was a great call, and you can find these on our YouTube channel, National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. And so thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you, Ron. You're the best.
Thanks, guys. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron.
Yes, thank you.
Ron and Jeannie give each other hugs for me.
We'll do it.